You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your Security Plus certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Endpoint monitoring serves three primary goals: detecting compromise, blocking malicious behavior, and preserving forensic evidence. Endpoints such as laptops, servers, and mobile devices are often the first targets for attackers, making them crucial vantage points for visibility. Monitoring ensures that unusual activity like privilege escalation or file tampering is spotted quickly. Blocking capabilities stop active threats before they spread, while forensic preservation secures logs and artifacts needed for investigation. When endpoints are properly instrumented, they act as both alarms and shields, providing defenders with the first line of detection and the raw evidence needed to reconstruct incidents. Endpoint detection and response (EDR) tools form the backbone of modern endpoint monitoring. At their core, these tools collect process telemetry to show what is executing, detect persistence mechanisms that attackers use to survive reboots, and record file events such as creations, deletions, or modifications. They also track network connections to highlight suspicious communication patterns. This comprehensive visibility gives analysts the ability to trace an attacker's movements step by step. Hardened organizations rely on EDR fundamentals to piece together timelines, identify root causes, and validate whether remediation actions fully close the attack vector. Endpoint monitoring can be implemented through agent-based or agentless approaches. Agent-based monitoring installs lightweight software on devices to capture deep local telemetry, such as process execution or kernel events. Agentless methods pull logs and activity remotely, often through APIs or existing infrastructure like Active Directory. Agents provide richer detail but require deployment and lifecycle management, while agentless approaches reduce footprint but may lack depth. Hardened environments often combine both, using agents for high-value assets and agentless collection, where coverage breadth matters most, balancing detail against manageability. Host-based sensors extend monitoring by focusing on integrity and configuration changes. Integrity monitoring detects when critical system files are altered, signaling possible tampering. Registry tracking highlights changes to startup items or key configurations on Windows hosts, common persistence techniques for attackers. Kernel hooks, conceptually, allow monitoring tools to observe low-level system calls, offering visibility into behavior that might bypass user mode detection. Together, these host-based sensors create defense in depth at the endpoint, surfacing malicious changes that may otherwise blend into routine system noise. Data-focused monitors address risks tied to information rather than infrastructure. Data loss prevention (DLP) agents scan content for sensitive information, such as financial or personal records, before it leaves an endpoint. File activity monitoring tracks how users interact with critical documents, while exfiltration detection looks for unusual transfers to external locations. These capabilities complement traditional endpoint telemetry by ensuring that sensitive information is not mishandled or stolen. Hardened organizations deploy data-aware monitoring to align endpoint visibility with the overarching goal of protecting what matters most, the data itself. Containment options are a critical extension of endpoint monitoring. When suspicious behavior is confirmed, devices can be quarantined from the network, blocking lateral movement. Processes can be terminated to stop malware execution immediately. Local firewall rules may be applied to restrict communication with suspicious hosts. These responses limit attacker opportunities while investigations continue. Hardened organizations train teams to use containment judiciously, ensuring that measures are effective but not unnecessarily disruptive. Endpoint containment makes monitoring actionable, turning detection into immediate defensive action. Telemetry from endpoints must be balanced carefully, as too much volume overwhelms storage and analysts, while too little leaves blind spots. Selective collection strategies focus on high-value events such as process execution, persistence attempts, and privilege escalations. Sampling or filtering can reduce volume without losing key signals. Hardened programs calibrate collection policies over time, tuning telemetry to provide meaningful security insights while avoiding unnecessary noise. This balance ensures endpoint monitoring remains sustainable while still capturing the data most valuable for defense. Endpoint monitoring also includes enforcing policy controls that restrict risky behavior. Execution allow lists limit devices to running only approved applications. Script restrictions prevent malicious macros or PowerShell abuse. Device control restricts the use of USB drives, printers, and other peripherals that attackers may exploit for data theft or malware introduction. These policies transform endpoints from passive observation points into active enforcement platforms. Hardened organizations view endpoint policy controls as essential complements to detection, preventing many attacks from executing in the first place. Privacy and legal considerations must always be addressed in endpoint monitoring. Collecting user-level telemetry, such as keystrokes or document access, can intrude on personal privacy or violate labor laws in certain jurisdictions. Monitoring programs must clearly define scope, apply minimization where possible, and align with regulations like GDPR. Hardened organizations balance visibility with responsibility, ensuring that endpoint monitoring protects organizational assets without compromising employee rights or regulatory compliance. Transparent policies and strict access controls help maintain trust in monitoring practices. Endpoint telemetry is most powerful when integrated with central platforms like SIEMs and NDR solutions. A suspicious process on one endpoint becomes far more significant if it correlates with unusual lateral network activity. Centralized integration ensures endpoint data contributes to the broader security picture, enabling faster investigations and richer context. Hardened organizations prioritize integration pipelines that make endpoint signals part of a unified detection fabric, strengthening monitoring across all domains. Provisioning and lifecycle management of endpoint agents are essential for consistency. Agents must be deployed at scale, updated regularly to ensure compatibility, and removed securely when devices are decommissioned. Poorly managed agents create blind spots and introduce operational risks. Hardened programs treat agent lifecycle as part of endpoint hygiene, ensuring monitoring coverage remains complete and accurate across the environment. Automation and configuration management systems help maintain agent health consistently, reducing gaps in visibility. Endpoints remain the front line of compromise, making them essential detection points. Instrumenting them with sensors, managing them with discipline, and protecting them with policies ensures attackers cannot operate silently. When endpoints are neglected, attackers gain footholds that expand unchecked. Hardened organizations view endpoint monitoring as a core pillar of defense, combining detection, response, and forensic readiness at the most common entry point of attacks. Strong endpoint visibility transforms devices from liabilities into assets in the fight against intrusion. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Designing effective data loss prevention (DLP) policies begins with clear rules for what constitutes sensitive data. Detection rules may look for credit card numbers, health records, or confidential intellectual property. These rules must be tuned carefully to reduce false positives, which can overwhelm analysts and frustrate users. Another important choice is whether policies should block actions, such as preventing a file from being emailed externally, or simply generate alerts for review. Hardened organizations often start with alert-only rules, gradually shifting to blocking once confidence and accuracy grows. This phased approach ensures that monitoring enhances protection without disrupting legitimate workflows. Endpoint forensics builds on monitoring by capturing the artifacts necessary for incident investigations. Artifacts include event logs, registry entries, browser histories, and other traces left behind by attackers. Memory captures provide insight into processes running at the time of compromise, including those invisible to disk-based forensics. All evidence must be handled securely, with chain of custody documentation to preserve admissibility in legal or regulatory contexts. Hardened organizations integrate forensic readiness into endpoint monitoring, ensuring that when an alert fires, the systems and procedures are already in place to collect and protect evidence immediately. Telemetry enrichment at the endpoint level provides crucial context for faster validation. Linking events to user identity clarifies whether a suspicious process was tied to an administrator or a standard account. Geolocation data highlights whether a login originated from an unusual region. Device posture checks, such as patch levels or security settings, help analysts judge risk more accurately. Installed software inventories identify whether vulnerable applications are present. Hardened organizations automate this enrichment, attaching context to endpoint alerts so analysts can make rapid, informed decisions without manually researching background details. Response orchestration across endpoints enables defenders to act at scale. Bulk quarantines can isolate many machines simultaneously during a widespread outbreak. Automated patch triggers can push updates when vulnerabilities are confirmed, reducing exposure windows. Coordinated credential resets cut off compromised accounts across systems. These orchestrated actions ensure that responses keep pace with fast-moving threats. Hardened organizations use endpoint orchestration carefully, blending automation for speed with analyst oversight for accuracy, ensuring that containment protects the enterprise without introducing unnecessary disruptions. Performance considerations must be weighed when deploying endpoint agents. Agents that consume excessive CPU or memory may degrade user experience, leading to frustration and resistance. At the same time, reducing visibility to improve performance undermines monitoring effectiveness. Hardened organizations test agents thoroughly before rollout, tuning telemetry collection to balance security depth with minimal user impact. Regular updates and performance reviews keep agents aligned with evolving workloads, ensuring they remain both lightweight and effective. This balance is key to maintaining trust in monitoring programs. Testing endpoint detections ensures monitoring tools work as intended. Red teams or controlled samples introduce simulated malware or exploit behaviors to verify that EDR and DLP systems respond correctly. These exercises reveal detection gaps, misconfigurations, or blind spots. They also build analyst confidence in the tools. Hardened organizations schedule regular endpoint detection tests, treating them as quality assurance for their monitoring stack. By validating effectiveness in controlled conditions, organizations prepare their defenses for real-world attacks. Granular device control is another critical endpoint safeguard. Restricting removable media reduces the risk of data theft or malware introduction. Printer monitoring prevents sensitive documents from being exfiltrated physically. Peripheral restrictions cover webcams, Bluetooth, and other potential attack surfaces. These controls limit attacker options and reduce the attack surface. Hardened organizations implement device control policies tailored to business needs, balancing usability with security. Monitoring ensures that exceptions are tracked and abuses quickly flagged, preserving both flexibility and protection. Endpoint hardening complements monitoring by preventing many compromises before they occur. Execution allow lists ensure only trusted applications run. Full disk encryption protects data if devices are lost or stolen. EDR tuning removes unnecessary noise while sharpening detections. Together, these measures make endpoints both resilient and observable. Hardened organizations treat hardening and monitoring as mutually reinforcing. Monitoring detects what bypasses defenses, while hardening reduces the number of threats that need monitoring in the first place. This layered approach maximizes security efficiency. Metrics give leaders visibility into endpoint monitoring effectiveness. Coverage percentages show how many endpoints have active agents. Blocked attack counts demonstrate prevention capability. Time to contain measures how quickly compromised devices are isolated. These metrics highlight both strengths and gaps, guiding investment and training decisions. Hardened organizations publish endpoint monitoring metrics regularly, ensuring stakeholders see progress and understand where improvements are needed. Metrics transform monitoring from a background function into a measurable business safeguard. Continuous improvement is essential for endpoint monitoring programs. DLP rules must be updated as new data types emerge. Detection logic requires refinement to address new attack techniques. Red team test cases should rotate to stay relevant. By iterating regularly, organizations ensure monitoring adapts to the evolving threat landscape. Hardened organizations institutionalize this cycle, embedding continuous improvement into policy, process, and tooling. This discipline ensures that monitoring remains sharp, effective, and aligned with both security and business goals. Decommissioning endpoints requires careful attention to monitoring. Agents must be removed cleanly to prevent lingering software from creating errors. At the same time, historical telemetry should be preserved in centralized systems to support audits or investigations. Without proper decommissioning, organizations risk blind spots or data loss. Hardened organizations document decommissioning flows, ensuring visibility is maintained across the full life cycle of endpoints. This practice ensures that monitoring remains consistent even as assets retire or transition. Ultimately, endpoint and data monitoring combine three critical elements: detection, prevention, and forensic readiness. Detection ensures attackers are noticed quickly. Prevention blocks malicious actions before they escalate. Forensic readiness preserves the evidence needed to understand what occurred and to recover with confidence. Hardened organizations integrate all three, recognizing that strong endpoint visibility reduces compromise impact, accelerates investigations, and strengthens overall resilience. In environments where endpoints are the first and last line of defense, disciplined monitoring is non-negotiable. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.